All good? Okay, it's 5:30. I'm going to call the Truth and Taxation hearing to order. Nancy, would you do roll call?
Akery,
Here.
Bivens,
Here.
Book, Friel,
Here.
Gascoigne, Hudson,
Present.
Huss,
Here.
Kitson,
Present.
Copine,
Present.
Larum,
Here.
Naylor,
Present.
Pearson,
Present.
Robertson,
Present.
Sheline,
Here.
Shippert,
Here.
Scrogstad,
Here.
White,
Here.
Wilson,
Here.
Zeman,
Here.
Olson.
Here. Thank you. We're going to go with the presentation of the proposed 2023 levy for 2024. We'll go with Wendy Ryerson. Do you want to do the presentation of the levy?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Finance Chairman Jim Sheline reminded me earlier today that this would be technically my last levy presentation to this board, and so he deferred the honors to me. So to that, I say, Jim, thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, Wendy.
So I am going to give you a little bit of an overview, and I know that some of you have heard this from me, like, you know, it feels like 100 times before, but we do have some newer members of the board, and also for any member of the public that may listen to this either now or later, I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview, even though it might seem like a repeat. So we are a PTEL, Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, PTEL jurisdiction. And as a PTEL jurisdiction, there's only two factors that enter into our levy request. The first factor is the Consumer Price Index. So the Consumer Price Index, the law says that we may receive over and above what we received in the year prior, the Consumer Price Index. So in this particular given year, the Consumer Price Index actually was 6.5%. But the law says it's because Consumer Price Index or 5%, whichever is lesser. So in this case, the Consumer Price Index is higher than 5%. We have to default back by statute to the 5%. So the presentation of the levy today includes that, and the one other component that matters when we calculate a levy request under PTEL, and that is new construction, new property. So the PTEL law also says that we can take advantage of or levy against new construction. So when we have new construction, we can actually increase our levy request in addition to the 5% for new construction. So the levy that I've put forward or presented or calculated earlier this year is resulting in those two things, a 5% consumer price index and what I'm estimating to be the new construction assessed value. Keeping in mind that the assessor's office, when I presented this about 6 or 8 weeks ago, was still working through the final numbers. I do believe they've got those numbers finalized at this point, but the presentation is based on those estimates at that time. So based on the 5% CPI plus my estimate of new property in the amount of about $6,500,000. It is my estimation, because that's all it is at this point until the levy is actually calculated by the Extension Department. It is my estimation that the levy requested be $8,759,500, which is $502,851 over and above what we got in the year prior. The increase, as I said, is primarily due to that CPI and what I'm estimating for new construction. You see on the information that's in your packet and your handout, the particular funds where that money is being allocated to. The PTEL, by the way, restriction doesn't allocate or restrict a particular fund, but it restricts the total of all funds. If you have a median priced home in Lee County, which is worth $135,000, this would result in an annual estimated tax bill increase of the county's portion of the bill of about $18.95. So oftentimes what I hear from taxpayers is, are you telling me my tax bill is going up 6% if you guys ask for a 6% increase? And the answer to that is no, because first of all, remember that Lee County's portion of the tax bill is only about 10% of the overall bill. Most of your tax bill goes towards the school districts. So the fact that we are asking for in this case, 6.09%, that is of that portion of the bill that is Lee County's portion of the bill, which again represents about 10%. So with that said, on that sheet, you are also seeing what I'm estimating the rates to be. Again, an estimation at this point because the actual levy process will determine what this is. If I have overestimated the PTEL, Truth in Taxation process, extension process, will restrict us from getting even what I've asked for if I've overestimated. So what happens a little bit later in the year after the Extension Department does their calculations is they send back a report that says, Wendy, you've overestimated. You can't have this amount of money. Here's the real amount of money you can have. And at that point, we have to go back to the drawing board and decide which of these funds to take our cut in. So that's just a high-level overview of the PTEL and how it impacts us as a taxing district and our ability to levy money. One more thing I will point out to you is that this request for about $8.7 million of property tax revenue reflects about half of the overall county general budget. So in other words, the county general budget is between 16 million, and property tax funds about half of that. And other fees and other sources of revenue will fund the rest. With that said, I'd be happy to entertain any questions if anyone has any.
Questions for Wendy? Go ahead.
Wendy, what's the realistic process if we don't pass this today?
The real estate process?
The
or-
realistic.
Oh, the realistic. I think you said real estate.
Yeah.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, the entire budget is contingent upon this estimated amount of money. And if we don't pass this and don't raise this amount of money, then it throws the budget out of whack. And I don't know if Jim would like to take that. But bottom line is, if we don't, then we don't. There's also implications in that we have to turn our levy in by a certain time frame in December to the county clerk's office. So if you were to say to me, yeah, we don't like that estimate, Wendy, go back to the drawing board, we would need to have a special board meeting to adopt another version potentially of what this might look like. So that's a realistic, kind of what would happen if it doesn't pass.
Mr. Sheeline.
So in the budget process, Angie, we've had starting, we start the process in July, and the Finance Committee starts having its meetings and hearings with the department heads, and we build the budget. So there's opportunity for us as board members to weigh in on the budget as it goes through the process. So if we did not pass this tonight, it's sort of like we've done all this work to build this product, and then we're going to throw it away at the last moment. Wendy kind of underestimates it becomes a chaos is what happens, because if we've predicated all of our budget numbers on these revenue numbers. And the property tax piece of it is the one thing, and this is what, and I could talk about property tax and whether it's fair and all that all night and bore you to tears, but and my experience in farm bureaus, we tried to move away from property tax and into state income tax. But the reality is why we use property taxes as a revenue source to fund local government is because it's stable. And so as Wendy alluded to, we fund about half of our operations off of property tax. That is the stable part of our revenue source. All the other revenue sources, the fees, the state income tax, the personal property replacement tax, the local taxes, all of those things have a variability depending on whether or not we have good economy, what's going on with overall corporate income, whether, personal income is affected by a recession, all of those things. So there's and that can vary extremely. So this is the piece that we are, now one thing I would add with Wendy, what she said is in regards to, we have set this levy, if we pass this, we can't take any more dollars than what that bottom line number is. So that is the most that we could get no matter what. If there's an adjustment that comes through, as Wendy alluded to, it's going to be a downward adjustment, not an upward adjustment. So yeah, it's really important that at this stage of the game that the board moves forward with this levy.
Any other questions or comments from the board members? How about public comments? Do we have any public comments for the truth and taxation hearing? Any public comments? If none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Kitson moves, Mr. Wilson seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning the public hearing on truth and taxation signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll start our county board meeting in 20 minutes.